Okay, so I will be continuing my last class from here, and the things that we have already discussed is the relationships, foreign key. We have already discussed one to one. We have discussed one to many. We have discussed many to many. Then I also taught you that how you can create these diagrams. Like you have a one to one relation, you have one to many relation, or many to many relation. Followed by that, I have also discussed with you regarding the entity relation diagrams, how you can create them, and you basically have three types of entity relation diagrams. And the first one was your physical. The second one that we have right here was conceptual, that I discussed in my last lecture, and the third one was your logical. Now, moving forward to this, in this class we will be discussing regarding the flat file and relational database. Like I have also discussed a bit of that into my last lecture. So I will be proceeding with this right here regarding the flat file and a relational database. Let's start. So first of all, I have a flat file database, and this is basically one of a database that consists of a single table. That means that it consists of a single table and it has no relationship with any of the table. It is like looking all the data in a single worksheet in a spreadsheet. Like, for example, if you have a single spreadsheet and if you are just looking at that data, that means that this is a flat file system. A flat file means that you have no relationships, your entities are not connected with each other. It is also called a flat file system, also because a flat file basically means like if it has only the front and the back. So only front and back means only two sides or two dimensions, and only two sides and two dimension means that a flat file system has only only two objects, and those two objects are only fields and records. So this is why it is known as a flat file system. Like for example, I can give you an example of a table right here. Like for example, if I have a table and into that table I have an ID, I have either a registration number, I have a registration year, or I have their mode of transmission. So it goes like 1, 2, 3. Your registration number can be anything like BX003, BX004, BX005. Registration year like 2015, 2016, 2018, and transmission is like either manual, auto. The only thing I need to tell you right here is that this is basically an example of a table and it has no relationship with any other table. This is just a plain table. It's just like you are looking onto a flat thing, like it has only fields and records, right? It has ID1. ID1 can be considered as record one. It has nothing connected. So this is to be known as regarding a flat file database. However, if you have a table which has different tables connected. So that is going to be a relational database that we are going to discuss. Now, if I discuss with you with an example of a relational database. Now, relational database is the one which has everything of it that is being connected, right? So if it is a relational database, that means that if all of the tables are connected with that, so one problem is that with the relational database, I can say that data needs to be managed properly. They basically resolve the problem of inaccurate data. They resolve the problem of inconsistent data, like no inconsistent data, and even non-redundant data. That means that you will have an accurate data to whom you can trust on. Here, I can also say that when it comes to a relational database are used to reduce your data redundancy, which means your data duplication, and it helps you your data to be managed properly, and they resolve all of the problems like that. However, if I discuss in terms of a flat file database, I'm I'm basically comparing both of them. If it is a flat file database, the problem is that working with larger files in a flat file database, there is a problem where all of the data is in one table. And just in case if it is in one table, so it is going to create a redundant data. Redundant data means that if it is in a single table and it is not in relation, your data will be duplicated. And if your data is going to be duplicated, it is going to store an additional amount of memory. And just in case if you have an additional amount of memory, that also makes your data inconsistent and inaccurate. So this is the reason that I use a relational database, because it solves the problems of to that. However, flat files also have their uses as well, like they can be used to set up or enter a data without testing. So that is their advantage, right? Like I can say that as far as their advantages or uses are concerned, I can say that they can be used to set up as sometimes data can be entered into file without needing to assign data types, field sizes, or relationships. So this is the area where they can be used. Like I can also say that they can be shared easily as well. They can be shared easily via email as well. They can be sent across the internet as well. They are not dependent because they do not have any relation with anyone, and it is also easy to add up data. It is also easy to add up data into a flat file system as well, because it's simply like just like if you are just adding the column, so it's quite easy for you. But if you are going to do that into relational database, it's going to be a quite a challenge, because a relational database is connected with all of its values. It's also quick, it saves your time as well. And the uses of flat file, it can be that it is used in transactional processing system. Flat file transactional processing system is like your banking transactions. Like for example, if you are processing monthly salary, monthly payments, or updating the master file, updating monthly salary, for or even updating the master file as well. Similarly, if I discuss in terms of a relational database, therefore links has to be created between the tables, which means that data can be looked up. However, this takes and time and expertise into that, and it is quite slower as well. There can be larger databases as well. So it is also possible to share a relational database across a network or even the internet or of as well. But if you are sharing a relational database, that would mean that you will be required to share all of the files that are connected as well. Queries can also be created to enable the data so that you can search that, you can sort it out. So, so far, let me give you an overview of the differences between them. So, for example, as an overview of the differences between a flat file and a relational database can be like, in terms of a flat file database, a search or query has to load the entire database in order to find the data needed. That because that search query is going to look forward your whole of the data. It's like if you are finding a registration number or a code or something, and that code has to find through all of your data. A search or query will find all the data required in one file, or running a query to find the number of vehicles with manual transmission would mean searching the whole file, which would take a lot of time. But when it comes to a relational database, a search or query only has to load the tables required, so it is fast as well. It is better sorted out as well. A search or query would have to assimilate the data from more than one table, so you can just go through that. Other than that, we have already discussed some of the important terminologies regarding their differences. And let me go through back it again. Like a flat file is basically the one that consists of a single table. It has no relationships. It is like looking at that single worksheet in a spreadsheet. It is called flat because it has only two dimensions. Like for example, this is an example of a flat file because it has no relationships. ID, registration number, registration year. Similarly, if I discuss right here, you can see that this is the flat file. The flat file below stores data about driving license, the cars used, and the learners taking the lesson. You can see you have their lessons ID, but you can see one thing right here, that the data about the car is being repeated, and the data about the learner takes the taking lessons is also repeated. This means that it only contains a small amount of redundant data, but imagine that if it is a lot of data, so it would definitely create some trouble for managing that. Like in the flat file example about the driving lesson, the data about cars are very similar to the table you would find in a relational database, but with larger data, a flat file, there is a problem that your data will be repeated. And if it is repeated, it would take a lot of memory. I'm talking about the flat file system. It causes problems with inconsistency maintaining the flat file. Like flat file but have their uses as well, like they can be used to set up sometimes data can be entered quietly. You do not need to set up the data type, fields as a relationship. They can be shared easily. I have covered all of that. You can add columns easily. However, when it comes to a relational database, they are more useful because when data needs to be managed properly, they resolve the problems of your inaccurate, inconsistent, redundant data because they are being quite connected with each other. When it comes to a relational database, they are used for redundancy. We have gone through that as well. And let me give you one of the another examples that I have already shared with you. Okay, so basically right here, you can get a recap of the what are the limitations of a flat file system. The limitations are that like duplication of data, your data has to be duplicated, you're inconsistent in data redundancy, lack of concurrency. However, when it comes to a relational database, it is the one that links all together.